you shared with me about your daughter who went to Tokyo Olympics. I just wonder, like, how does her dream of being an Olympian come from? Did you have anything to do with that?
Well, as a parent, you always want to say yes, you had something to do with it, but I will have to be very honest. I don't think I had a lot to do with it, but I hope I gave her the environment that she was able to reach for whatever dreams and opportunities that came her way. She was actually the one that came to us when she was about 7 or 8 and says, I want to swim. And so, whatever you want to do, you have a passion for it, I will support you 100%. And I think it's from that every day, making sure she goes to practice, reminding her that it's not just you winning all the time. It's actually the journey and the process of you learning how to overcome your personal weaknesses or your personal obstacles. Because at the end of the day, the time that she swam was like less than 2 minutes. It's like she swam at 50 meters in less than 2 minutes. That was the race and that was done. But that 2 minutes, if you look back from the time she started swimming at 8 years old until she was 20-some years old in the swimming part, then you can see how many years that she had and developed from there. I'm hoping that I gave her the environment and some thoughts that allowed her to make those particular choices. Sometimes we always want to say as parents, like, yes, I had something to do with that. But I wasn't the one there swimming every day. I wasn't the one there going to practice every day. Yes, I woke up, I helped her get up, I drove her to practice. I made sure she had the proper food that I can give her in an environment. I try to remind her every day that it's all about your efforts, how you think, how you interact with people. Don't ever let people talk you down just because you're a woman or at the time as a young lady or as a girl. Because as a human being, you can do so many things. But as soon as you let the environment or the community talk down to you, and unfortunately, there's a lot of young women who are talked down to, and they're told you cannot do this because of whatever belief that community has. You're not supposed to do that because of whatever traditions that community has. Or you're a girl and you cannot do that because of whatever the community or the culture is. I try to tell them no matter what, you take the steps that needs to be taken so that you can stand up for yourself because no one else is going to stand up for you. And I think she internalized it to the point where she's really determined. Kids have their own personalities when they're born. So, she's always has a very determined personality. When she gets her mind set on something, she wants to continue until she accomplishes it. And I've always felt that I had to always encourage her to do that because there's so many obstacles that young women go through. I didn't want to raise my kids to face those obstacles. I wanted to raise them to be prepared for any obstacle that comes their way. They're always going to face whatever issues in the world that they're going to face, whatever discrimination, gender issues. God willing, they're not going to see any violence, but they're going to face some challenges, and we need to stop talking about our kids as their kids and they don't know how to do things. And so I like to think I had something to do with it, but I hope I had the environment. I had created the environment for her to do it on her own. And that's something that I'm hoping that I'm very proud of because that's what happened to me. My father, Tom Chilton, he's the one that gave me those opportunities to learn on my own. Give me the examples that I need to do to be a man and how a man behaves, interacts with other human beings. Because of, like you said, my father, my mother, they taught me, and hopefully I gave my daughters the other opportunities, and hopefully they'll continue on. But unfortunately, the world is the world. We are bound by our beliefs and our traditions, and sometimes our beliefs and traditions stop us from incorporating the rest of the world. And I'm very encouraged by a quote by a gentleman from the U.S., Mr. Warren Buffett. And he's like, the reason why and I'm paraphrasing. So he says, the reason why I'm very supportive of gender equality or gender inclusion is that imagine what we've done with only half of the population in terms of growth and development and technology. Imagine if we include the whole population and include women in it. What can we accomplish if we include everyone in looking forward and developing a community, a country, an organization, and not let our personal biases or other biases stop us from working with other people? And just because you're a young man that happened to grow up in France and I have a bias between French people, I'm not going to work with you. That's so limiting, You limit the creativity, you limit the opportunities. And just imagine what would happen if you take Warren Buffett's words and say, if we include the whole world in really dealing with issues of climate change, violence, health, medicine. I mean, I truly believe that, there's a philosophy of duality. So for every positive, there's a negative. And so I really believe that for every problem, there's always a solution, but we need to allow people to learn the true nature of the problem so they come up with the true nature of the solution. So I'm not worried about problems. I'm worried about giving young men and women the opportunity to be able to come up with the solutions. And if you don't include them, and we're very stubborn and I'm 53 years old. So sometimes I'm very stubborn. I think young people don't know anything because they don't have the experience. But they'll amaze you if you learn to just sort of put your own biases aside and say, I need to listen. I need to just listen and let's just talk stories. What do you think we can do? And it's surprising. They come up with solutions. I was really hoping COP26 was going to have more youth involved. But that's just our own personal issue. So that's, I encourage young men and women that no matter what government does, no matter what organizations do, don't stop being you. Do you and bring up the voice that you think needs to be brought up. And that's what I hope I gave to my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter that's in Dubai now.